Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate you being here. I apologize if there's any noise outside right now. There's some city workers tearing stuff up, so my apologies for that. I want to get into this news here. We're going to be talking about several different things going on over the Middle East. But if you didn't know, just 2 days ago, there was a drone strike on a U.S. military base called Tower 22 inside of Jordan. And there were three troops that were killed, three U.S. troops that were killed, and as far as I know, up to 40 that have been wounded. Okay, so this was a massive drone strike on the living quarters inside that base. There's some news that's come out here that I'm going to show you. These are apparently the three troops that were killed. So there was three of them: Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, 46 years old; Specialist Kennedy LaDon Sanders, 24 years old; and Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffett, 23 years old. So unfortunately, these are the three troops that were killed. Very terrible news, and I feel bad for their families. Hopefully, their families are getting the support that they need. But yeah, let's keep them in our prayers. Those are the three troops that were killed during that drone strike. So, I also want to be talking about Biden as well here. Okay, so Biden said that he was going to vow a response to this attack, and over the last what has been for like 48 hours now, looks like he's finally come to a decision. We're going to be talking about that decision here. So he has obviously not come out and telegraphed exactly what they're going to do, but many are speculating what's going to happen here. People are speculating, is he going to attack Iran? Because obviously Iran is involved in this. If you see my last video that I put out, the Islamic resistance fighters of Iraq claimed responsibility for this attack, and they are an Iranian-backed militia group. Okay, it was the Islamic resistance in Iraq, and again, they are an Iranian-backed military group or militia group. So Biden is obviously going to go after this group, more than likely, because they are the ones responsible for launching the attack, right? But Iran is the one funding this group. Okay, so Iran is obviously being blamed. The United States is blaming Iran. Iran has come out and said, we are not involved in this in any way. We had nothing to do with that attack. But again, they are funding this group that attacked the U.S. troops at the Tower 22 military base. So, not sure what his response is going to be, but many are speculating that it's going to be a massive response. We probably will see this response in the next 24 hours, I'm guessing. Probably no later than 48 hours. I think they're going to be launching some strikes, more likely inside of Iraq and Syria. Uh, Probably highest bet is going to be Iraq, but potentially Syria as well. And there is a possibility that we may launch strikes in Iran, but I think that's a very low probability of that happening because the U.S. has come out and said they do not want war with Iran. Okay, they do not want to go to war with Iran. So I don't think that that's very likely that could happen, but who knows? We never know what can happen here. So let's go over this article. Biden says he decided on a response to Iran over a deadly drone attack. And he said he's not looking for a wider war in the Middle East. So that's kind of the difficult thing here is that by us launching these strikes here in the next 24, 48 hours, more likely, um, it's going to escalate things. So there's really no choice but to escalate. We literally had three troops that were killed and 40 wounded. So there's no way we cannot respond to that. All right. So President Joe Biden said Tuesday he decided how the U.S. is going to respond to the drone attack on the U.S. base in Jordan by Iran backed militants that killed three American soldiers. Have you made a decision how you will respond to these attacks? Biden was asked leaving the White House as headed for fundraisers in Florida. Yes, he said. Retaliatory strikes by the U.S. so far have yet to deter any of the Iranian backed groups in the region. Asked if this upcoming response will actually deter them, he said, "We'll see." He reiterated that the U.S. is not looking for a wider war in the Middle East, explaining, "That's not what I'm looking for. And the president wouldn't go as far as saying Iran is directly responsible for the attack, but it is responsible for arming these proxy groups. I do hold them responsible in that they're supplying the weapons to the people who did it. Biden is facing increasing pressure to forcefully respond to Sunday's drone attack without deepening the conflict in the Middle East. If you saw one of my last videos, it was like maybe 3 videos ago, something I put out yesterday. I talked about congressional leaders putting lots of pressure on Biden. Okay, we had like Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell coming out, speaking about it, several other senators coming out, like Lindsey Graham, many people coming out and saying, hey, we need to attack Iran directly. We don't need to go after these Iranian backed groups. We need to go after Iran, the source. So that's why many people are speculating, are we actually going to go after Iran? Because obviously Iran is involved in this. They are the head of the snake funding these proxy groups, right? So we have no idea whether the US will attack them. But according to this, here it is right here. We are not looking for war with Iran. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said at a Monday's White House press briefing. So that's why I think that they're not going to go after Iran. I think they're just going to go after these proxy groups because that's the only way that they cannot escalate things to turn into like a major war in the Middle East. If we just go after these proxy groups, it'll, I guess, in a way, suppress the ability for them to attack more bases, but in reality, this is not going to really deter anything from happening. It's just going to put a pause for maybe a day or two, and then these groups will come right back at it and start attacking these bases again. So we got a real problem over here in the Middle East that's going to be very hard to solve without a conflict, if you really think about it. Okay, and even if there were to be a conflict, I just don't. The way the United States military is right now, they are not the dominant, military force that it once was. It's just not like that no more. And that's why all these groups are attacking, the US bases and all these different, our warships down in the Gulf of Aden. That's why we're all being attacked right now, okay? Because nobody sees the US as a superpower anymore. They see us as a joke. Okay, so we are not seeking a conflict with the regime in the military way, Kirby continued. We're not looking to escalate here. This attack over the weekend was escalatory, make no mistake about it, and it requires a response. So they 100% are going to respond. And in my opinion, I think all we're really going to do is just some airstrikes. I think that's all that's going to happen. There's going to be some airstrikes, but I think they're going to be more heavily targeted precision strikes on actual militants. I think that's what we're going to be doing, and not really going after, so much like before. We were just targeting like warehouses and things like that to kind of destroy their weapons or their ability to attack, when obviously that hasn't done that. These militant groups are too widespread. They're all over the place in the Middle East, and they could be hiding weapons in caves and bunkers, and there's no way to go and get all these weapons and destroy them. It's just impossible. The president vowed Sunday that the U.S. would respond, and Monday met with members of his national security team in the White House Situation Room to discuss the latest developments on the attack in Jordan near the borders with Syria and Iraq, according to the White House. So this was Biden here speaking just before he was about to get on Marine One. So I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. We're obviously anticipating a strike here pretty soon. It all depends on how big that strike is going to be, but there is going to be a strike here pretty soon, more likely in the next 48 hours. And it'll probably happen in the middle of the night, like it always does. And, we'll have to see how big that strike is going to be. So I also want to go over some more information on what happened during that drone strike. There's some more information that's come out. And many were wondering, okay, how did this drone strike this base? Don't we have air defenses? And if there is air defenses, how did this drone evade those air defenses? So they've got information that's coming out. I personally don't know if I believe that this information is true, but that's just my opinion. But this is what they're saying. So drone that killed U.S. soldiers in Jordan followed American drone onto base, causing confusion. So apparently what happened here, is there was a American drone that was returning to the base, right? And at the same time, or soon after, the American drone came and landed at the base. That's when this enemy drone came. Okay, so the air defenses were put on like low alert during the time that this American drone was returning. So I don't know if this was like perfectly timed or if it was just a coincidence or what happened, but um clearly the air defenses were down for a short time after that American drone had landed, and then here came this enemy drone, and that's how it was able to evade the air defense, because it basically wasn't online, or it wasn't prepared to detect this drone that came in, because it was just temporarily brought offline to allow that American drone to come in. So here's the information right here. So the drone that killed 3 U.S. Army soldiers and wounded dozens more in Jordan on Sunday approached the U.S. military outpost Tower 22 around the same time an American drone was returning to the base, which led to uncertainty over whether it was hostile and caused a delay to the U.S. response. So there you go. Just like I said, it came in around the same time as that American drone. So the air defense just basically didn't target it, or I don't really know. The enemy drone followed the American drone as it approached, and it is not clear whether the enemy drone intentionally followed the American one or if it was a coincidence. One of the officials said. U.S. officials are also still assessing the enemy's drone's point of origin. Okay, so they're still trying to figure out where it came from. The 3 U.S. soldiers killed in the attack were identified Monday as Sergeant William Rivers of Carlton, Georgia, Specialist Kennedy Sanders of Waycross, Georgia, and Specialist Brianna Moffett of Savannah, Georgia. So they were all from Georgia, according to the Defense Department. They were all assigned to the 718th Engineer Company, a U.S. Army Reserve unit based out of Fort Moore, Georgia. Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said at a briefing. Singh said more than 40 were injured in the attack, so this has been updated now. Now we got 40. I last reported up to as high as 34. Now we're getting reports of 40 that were injured. Okay, and then they're saying the number could possibly increase. So that's the latest news on here. So apparently, yeah, that's how that drone got in there. It either supposedly followed the American drone, or it could have just been coincidental. It just came in at the right time when that air defense was down. But I'm thinking that it more likely was intentional. Okay, it probably. I'm sure these militants know that the air defenses would be down for a short time after that American drone would come in and land, and maybe that was their opportunity to launch it. So yeah, that's the latest on that. I wanted to get you caught up to speed on there. And one last thing I want to talk about, we're going to be talking about Antony Blinken here, Secretary of State of the United States. So this is Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and he was at a conference, like a NATO conference, with Jens Stoltenberg, and speaking to reporters, right? And during this conference, he was speaking about the Middle East, and he was saying he was considering it to be incredibly volatile. And he said this hasn't been this dangerous since the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Okay, so I thought that was interesting that he came out and said that. And if you look at the way things have been going over the last, like, let's say 3 to 5 years in the Middle East, we've been really drawing down our assets over there. You know, we pulled out of Afghanistan, even though, you know, many would you know, say that that was a horrible debacle, you know, the way we pulled out of Afghanistan, right? But we did pull out of Afghanistan. We've taken a lot of our resources away from the Middle East and directed a lot of our resources towards China and Russia now, assuming that China and Russia are a bigger threat, right? So the fact that we don't have any more resources in the Middle East, or not as many as we used to, these groups are starting to grow and become more aggressive, and you know, the Middle East is becoming more destabilized, when in reality, before, when we had more troops over there, the troops were there to help stabilize things, obviously, right? That was the idea. So now that we've had this drawdown of troops, now we're starting to see more aggression over here in the Middle East. And obviously there's a lot of other factors too. You know, there's what happened here with this Hamas war, and then there's now the United States getting involved, helping out Israel. Now all these groups, along with Iran, are just like, no, we don't like that the U.S. is getting involved and helping, you know, Israel attack Gaza and all that. So obviously it's a big mess, right? And there's a lot to it. But I just kind of wanted to throw that in there that, yeah, we definitely don't have as much resources and assets in the Middle East as we used to. Okay. And that could change now. We could end up putting a lot more resources over in the Middle East, even though the US is stating that they don't want any war with the Middle East, right? Or any war to break out in the Middle East. So go ahead and take a look at this clip real quick. I'm going to show you guys this. This is just a 30-second clip of him speaking, and then we'll kind of discuss it.
I think it's very important to note that this is an incredibly volatile time in the Middle East. I would argue that we've not seen a situation as dangerous as the one we're facing now across the region since at least 1973, and arguably even before that. And that is the environment in which we're operating. And of course, that was triggered by the horrific attacks of October 7th by Hamas against innocent men, women, and children.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah, he's talking there and warning everybody that things are going to be getting bad over here, and they're looking just as bad as 1973, if not worse, right? So clearly there's a lot of warning signs coming out from the Middle East that things are about to explode over here. All right, and that's why I put on the screen here, I put it's go time. Okay, because this could be the beginning of a major war breaking out in the Middle East, especially if Biden decides to go after Iran directly. I don't think he will do that, but if they do, expect a war to break out in the Middle East, and it's more likely going to happen. But it's just crazy to me because I keep saying, how long can this continue to go on before it actually is a declaration of war? Because we keep having these attacks happening over here, and well over 160 attacks on U.S. bases, and then we're basically doing nothing about it for the most part. We're launching a few airstrikes, and that's it. But aside from that, it's just attack after attack after attack. And yeah, at some point we either pull the U.S. troops out of there, or a war is going to break out. So it's just. It's really bad over there. It's getting crazy. So I hope you're paying attention to that, and keep an eye on these things. I'll definitely update you if any more information comes out, but that's going to be the latest here on the Middle East. I'm sure we're going to have some amazing news here coming out in the next 48 hours. So I will update all of you as soon as I can once this information comes out. So thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. YouTube will notify you. Thank you so much for being here. Hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care, and God bless.